Now, more stories, insights, and analysis of Illinois policy and politics. This is Illinois Rising, presented by the Illinois Policy Institute. Once again, your host, AM 560's Dan Proft.
Dan Proft back with Pat Hughes, co-founder of the Illinois Opportunity Project. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Illinois Rising. And Pat, municipal elections this week, not a lot of them, but some notable ones in Chicago metropolitan area in particular. One that we talked a lot about on my morning show, we wrote a lot about in one of my community newspapers, McHenryTimes.com, the Algonquin Township Highway Department Commissioner's Race. Not something you think that would normally capture the imagination of the region, but it kind of sort of did because it was such an egregious example of the kleptocracy that pervades Illinois. A highway department run by a guy named Bob Miller, who's, the Dailies have nothing on the Millers. His grandfather was the highway commissioner. His father was the highway commissioner. He's been the highway commissioner for 24 years, combined 52 years in the family. He hires family members. He, his wife, his two sons-in-law, $400,000 in salary from the highway department in Algonquin Township, which has responsibility for about 50 miles of township road. Then there was these videos that surfaced, we reported on, of township employees on township property turning public property into a shooting gallery, ostensibly, although I don't know for sure, on township time, it was daylight, shooting up a car using a township front loader to crush the car. They're behaving like a bunch of yahoos.
Yeah, there's two things going on there, right? So when you're in power for 50 plus years, you don't think anybody's watching. You think that you are beyond the voter, and that you don't responsibility only to your family and your friends and yourself, and that's why you
your donors.
Yeah, and that's why you turn township property into a shooting range. You and others, and of course our next guest, said enough is enough with respect to that. And this is a message, Dan, to everyone at every level of government, that this type of stuff is being watched and isn't going to be tolerated anymore.
Well, and it's also that voters, when given information about what's happening, will make the right choice. And the choice they made for Algonquin Township Highway Department head is Andrew Gosser, who joins us now. Andrew, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me, Dan.
Congratulations on the 145-vote victory over the longtime incumbent. What do you attribute the victory? It's your campaign. You were the candidate. What do you attribute the victory to?
It was the grassroots support in Algonquin Township that carried me over the line. Look, there are 68 precincts in Algonquin Township, and if I've won basically by 73 votes, because if you think about it, if I lose one vote and then it goes to the other side, I end up losing. And so the grassroots support that I had, the team that we had in place, and it wasn't just about money, it was about building a team, an organization to get out the vote, was huge. And that's why I attribute my victory. It was a tough campaign.
Andrew, when did you decide that the Millers sort of family dynasty needed to be stopped and you decided to jump into the race to stop it? And then secondarily, how did you go about making that a political issue?
So the truth is this is a long story. Lincoln Day dinner in 2013, I was a brand new precinct committeeman. I was the treasurer of the Algonquin Township Republicans, and I actually had a face-to-face discussion with Anna Mae Miller. And I was like, look, our bench is broken. We don't have a bench, and we need to develop new leaders. I'm like, how come we don't have a bench? And she looked at me dead in the face and said, we don't want a bench. And I'm like, why? And she goes, because they're going to take our jobs. And when she said that in 2013, I was like, okay. Inside, I was raging mad, and I decided right then and there I was going to start doing something. So we started going out door to door. I ended up meeting Matt Bessler at about this time and learned about Illinois Opportunity Project and just started interfacing with IOP. It was awesome. They would help me out with little bits of information on how to organize my precinct or how to build an organization. And a lot of that was really useful. I didn't use it all because it all didn't really pertain to how I was going to try to do this here in Algonquin, but the ideas were there and the tools were there, and I could just mix and match what I wanted to help build the organization. We ended up in 2014 completely flipping the party inside McHenry County that year. We elected a lot of really good precinct committeemen. Some of them were really hard workers. Some of them, they voted the right way, but they weren't going to work as hard as we wanted. But we flipped it. And then in 2016, we actually ended up, a group of people ended up going against Ms. Ann May Miller because not only was she hired by her husband at that time, but she was also the chairman of transportation on the McHenry County Board. And people don't believe this, but if you try to put this together in your mind's eye, you're hired by your husband for $96,000 a year at the highway district. He has you run for McHenry County Board, and you're sitting there collecting another $21,000. And oh, by the way, you're the chairman of transportation. Every single federal dollar and every single state dollar that goes through the McHenry County government is going through, technically, Algonquin Township. And
you're no conflict. No conflict there. This is kind of what we're talking about. So there's been great progress made, including this week with your victory. However, it seems like there's more progress to be made. This was a Republican primary. You have Republican state legislators representing your township. Barb Wheeler, the state representative, and Pam Altoff, the state senator, and they both endorsed Bob Miller. So what does that say about the need for change at the state legislative level?
We need change. We need people who are going to come out and recognize that nepotism and patronage is a problem. And it wasn't just those two people who came out and endorsed my opponent. It was former state representative Mike Tryon, too. They all came out of the woodwork to support nepotism and patronage, and it just blows me away. But that's why Illinois Opportunity Project and what we're doing here in Algonquin and hopefully all around the state is so important. You've got to develop the bench. You've got to develop the grassroots. It's really, really difficult to run as a first-time candidate for these higher offices, but if we get into our school boards, if we get into our townships, and you learn the basics of working a precinct and how to build a team, you are going to be able to take over these state rep districts and state rep seats. You're going to be able to take over state senate seats, and we're going to have that bench. Because let me tell you something else, too, Dan and Pat, and this is a very big misconception that I really want to put to bed. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't know what you're doing on the ground and you don't have a ground game, it's worthless.
Yeah, Andrew.
You can have all the money in the world.
Yeah, it's a good point, and I'm glad you made it, and I'm glad you made it across the finish line this week. Congratulations, Andrew Gosser, newly minted Algonquin Township Highway Department Commissioner. Andrew, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Dan and Pat. Have a blessed day.